The director of Halloween returns with a new offshoot, The Exorcist Believer. Check out my review right now. Stay tuned. All right, we're back with another movie review in the horror genre. Yes, we're going to talk about Exorcist Believer with your host, Frank Zanca. I am an award-winning screenwriter and working line producer, formerly from Hollywood and recently moved to Atlanta. So we're going to talk about The Exorcist Believer. This is another offshoot from David Gordon Green, who did the sequels to, they make believe that some of these movies didn't exist, and then they go back and, do a sequel of their own, for especially for Halloween, which the last movie, everybody's got to agree that thing was just horrible. Even the second one was very, very, I mean, how to use it. I'd say it was just campy. The dialogue was horrible. Yeah, so the first one was decent, and then they just kind of go off the deep end. And now that Halloween's finished, now they set their sights now on The Exorcist. So I looked at some of the scores on Rotten Tomatoes and things to that effect, and the scores are very, very bad. Scores are very, very bad. But I seem to have liked this film better than most. I thought the beginning was going to go in a different direction. So we start out with Haiti, and which is very odd that a couple with a very, very pregnant woman. So the wife is very pregnant, and I got to give a shout out to Leslie Odom. He was in Knives Out, the second Knives Out. He's from Hamilton. He's an extremely accomplished actor, and he just knocked out of the park in this one. He really put his heart and soul into it. He wanted this to be good, and you can tell that he really, he really pushed it for himself. So if there's any kind of holdout or standout in this film, it's Leslie Odom. I enjoyed watching him in the role, and maybe that's why I enjoyed this film better than most people, because I was able to see the actor really trying to connect, and he connected with me, So I did feel for the guy. So, and we also have some, it's basically it's riding on him. Ellen Bernstein, who is not in the film a lot, but she is in it. She's the mother from the first film. So, they're starting to do what they did with Halloween by bringing, the main characters back from the first film. And Linda Blair is in it for a very little period of time. So they are trying to do, those little member cookies and have these people show up. It does get very campy at times in this, and it also has a very, very slow pieces. But then for the first film, the original film was slow, I thought. But so it starts out in this thing with Haiti, and you have no idea, why somebody that pregnant would travel that type of distance when they're not going to see family or anything like that. If their family was in Haiti, then I could understand, but it wasn't. They just were on vacation. And, it's almost like a throwback to them in the first movie, and he sees, or I forgot if it was for a woman or whatever else, that sees the statue of the demon. And I thought that's where they were going with this, but they didn't. They didn't go anywhere near that. And that would have made more sense if both women that were pregnant ended up seeing, this statue, this totem, and both of them ended up inheriting a piece of the demon or something to that effect. But again, they didn't go down that road. Instead, there's a secret that's held in that first scene that you don't find out about until later. But we also have, again, film is riding on two girls. One's Lydia Jewett, who is was the daughter in Good Girls. She does a great job. And then Olivia O'Neill is, I think this is one of her first roles, and she's playing Catherine. So instead of that thing, these girls just go missing. She's trying to connect with her mother, and by doing so, they crack open a door. They use that instead of the totem. So they're gone for 3 days, but they lost time completely. And when they come back, the family realizes that they're possessed. And one family, Catherine's family, is very, very religious, and Leslie Odom just wants nothing to do with it. She wants nothing to do with any of it, because losing his wife has kind of tainted him in the way of religion. And then he has his next door neighbor, who is also religious. She plays Anne. Her name is Ann Dowd, and she plays Anne. So she plays her own name. But we find out some stuff about her later. But she's a nurse in the beginning. And then we have the actual exorcism, but the church wants nothing to do with it. So that was kind of a twist for me, because I thought that the church was going to get involved, and we were going to have the priests and the whole bit, but we see nothing of that. We do see there is a scene of the head turning on backwards, like from the first film, but it doesn't work out quite the same way. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So then we get, and you can hear that in the trailer. One girl lives, one girl dies. So there is the stakes is very high at the end. So we start out with the scene, and then we get to know the family and the girls' families, which is needed. But then it drags, until we actually get to the exorcism, or Ellen Bernstein's character comes in, and her name is Chris McNeil, and we find out that Reagan, who's her daughter, who's Linda Blair from the first movie, that Linda Blair just kind of left, and is hiding from the world, including her mother. So she hasn't even seen her daughter in some time. And so we have that arc going on. We have the arc with each individual family that are now pitted against each other, because this demon is very smart and says, hey, you guys make the choice, which I thought was very interesting. And how it's resolved is very interesting as well. So it does have some smart pieces in it, and I kind of like some of those little twists and turns inside where the exorcism is and where it goes. And the effects are very good. And if anything, the makeup department deserves an Oscar for this. They probably studied how they did the original film. But boy, did they knock it out of the park. Wow. I mean, I looked for nooks and crannies. I looked for, seams in the faces and stuff like that, and I couldn't find any. And how when they do the raised sutures or whatever, the scars of the cross, and upside down and stuff like that. I mean, I looked for where it might be raised off the head, and for all I know, it was just a whole bunch of prosthetics. But prosthetics would have seams somewhere. I couldn't find any, man. And I studied those girls' faces as they came up. But see, they deserve an award for the makeup that they did, because they did a great job. They were extremely creepy. So I don't want to go into any spoilers here with this film. But just know that the beginning of the film is okay. And then the, getting to know the characters is okay. And then it slows down to a crawl. And then it speeds up when we have the exorcism, and when Ellen's character is brought into things, then it kind of speeds up all the way to the end. So I think it could have been. I think it was an hour and 48 minutes, something like that, but an hour and 50 minutes, and it really could have been dropped to probably 15 minutes at least could have been removed from it without anybody even noticing. So, do I recommend the film? Now, it's not great. I'm not going to say it's a great film. I think it's better than Nun 2. At least it had a better storyline than the Nun 2. And again, I liked it better than some of the reviewers on Rotten Tomatoes. But again, it wasn't great. It's not a movie that I'm going to go out and see again or anything like that. But it was entertaining while I was sitting there. And I had, again, I sit next to, this time it was kids, that just will not let go of their phone. I do not understand this obsession with phones at all given times. There are times when you have your phone and there are times you're not. If you have a business thing that has to go on, which these kids did not, they were just playing on it. Why even go and pay for the movie theater if you're just gonna, if anything, you're gonna do something sexual in it. Why not the phone? If you're not gonna pay attention to the movie, at least do something sexual. But just playing on the phone is just a waste of money. You can do that at home. Whatever. But so I had to finally tell them either we'll get off the phone or leave. I just don't understand it. The obsession with phones. It's crazy. But in comparison to the first, getting back to the movie, outside of phones in the theater, which I could probably talk, make a whole video just on people with phones in the movie theater. And it tells you 10 million times, don't use your phone. Don't use your phone. And people do it anyway. It's crazy. But anyway, so how does it compare to the first movie? It doesn't compare to the first movie. The first movie is a classic. We have, Max von Sydow, and, it's just, that's just a classic. And this is never going to compare, no matter, what these guys do. David Gordon Green is a decent director, but he's not ever going to do anything that's classic. It's just not in his wheelhouse. But if I was going to give it out of 10, with 10 being the highest, 50 being or 5 being middle of the road, like I said, it's better than the Nun 2. So I'll probably give it like a 6.5. So it's enjoyable while you're sitting there. It's not very scary. That's the thing. There's no jump scares or anything like that. I think that they could have. I guess there was one. I think they could have gone deeper with it instead of it coasting along in that bit. I think that if the script needed another rewrite, so it didn't just coast along until we got to Ellen's character coming in. I think that they could have done a little bit more, scare stuff in there to make it a little bit more creepy and stuff to that effect. Especially when you know that these characters, the demon characters, know more about the other characters because they're getting fed information, from the underworld or whoever you want to say it. So they know things, and that could have really been used quite a bit more and probably more imaginatively than what we actually got. So that's why it's just a little bit above, average, because I think that they could have been smarter with the script. But that's it for me. Let me know. Did you watch it? Did you see it? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Do you agree with the people over at Rotten Tomatoes where it's kind of crap? Or do you agree with me that it's just a little bit over average and it was enjoyable while sitting there, but you're probably not going to watch it again? All right. Remember to like and subscribe. Give me the thumbs up. Give me the middle finger, whatever way you like it. And let me, jump onto my own stuff here really quick. Tales of Ravenor, the Iron Witch. I am going to start writing the next novel as well. So I'm gonna finally hunker down and do that as soon as I get the Kickstarter for the other thing up. But anyway, this is a fantasy novel. If you like fantasy, I think you'll like this. I have a new magic system and things like that. And then I also write comics. So here's my sci-fi series. It's called Destiny Aurora. I have a 4-book novel series, and this is an adaptation of the first novel. We have, the artwork is pretty decent in here, and we have a lot. Look at that action. So it's good action. It's got a big twist in it, which most people will not see coming. So this is the Kickstarter I'm working on for the next Lords of LA. This is my vampire mob in the 50s, and this is number 1, and we're going to have number 2 is what I'm going to be putting up on Kickstarter shortly. It's 48 pages, so it's actually a double-sized issue, and I'm excited to get everybody to see how this ends with Lena's story is not going to end, but I have this other character that's comes in from Vegas. He's like the Lord of Vegas, and we have this thing going on. It's pretty wild. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate all of your support and helping me grow the channel. Thank you for watching. Again, give me some feedback on what you thought of the Exorcist Believer. All right, have a good one, guys. And check out my other videos right now as well.